This was a sudden and unexpected disaster, and it is threatening us. It is threatening mankind. There is one more disaster waiting to happen, and that is climate change. It's all there for us to see, with the change in climate, with the change in uh, things that are happening around. It will happen and create another unprecedented calamity if we don't act now responsibly, responsibly for the good of people. Okay, so that's very important. So what is this responsible banking? So to discuss on the rise of responsible finance or responsible banking, we have with us Mr. V. Raj Kumar. He is currently the Deputy Executive at IBA, that is Indian Bankers Association. Before, he was the Executive Director of Indian Bank with more than 36 years of experience with significant contribution in areas of treasury, international banking, trade finance, risk management, information technology, credit corporate, mid and small and priority audit, HR marketing, corporate communication, banking operations, business plan, and strategic development. So he has, he in this 36 years, he has done so much. And so he's coming to us. He's come today to us to discuss about responsible banking. Good afternoon, Raj Kumar. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Thank you. Very good afternoon, Mr. KK, and all the participants. Greetings to you all. I profusely thank Mr. Mani and the team EPS for this great learning experience.
Thank you. Thank you. So welcome to the Business and Banking Dialogue. We are live on EPS directly on a direct EPS channel. We are also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And there's a large participation, and it is growing each day as we go by. So, sir, have you heard and watched any of our shows? And if you have done it, what's your comments on that?
No, for quite some time I have been watching this program.
Yes.
And I have been also watching you are talking, moderating, and all that. Now today I'm very happy I got an opportunity to interact with you.
My pleasure, sir. The pleasure is all mine. It's a pleasure to meet a banker, like I said, and with your kind of knowledge and years of banking across banks. It's my privilege to talk to you, sir. Sir, to give a perspective to our discussion, could you please explain what is responsible banking, how it is relevant and important to the financial industry?
Sure. Many of you may be having a very good understanding of this subject, but I am a jack of all trades. Okay. I wanted to handle a topic which is very new to me. So I am happy I could use this opportunity effectively. I want to share my learnings with you all. I started from zero. I am not an expert on this, but it is very, very fascinating to me now. And I will continue to pursue this subject. This is actually what is a takeaway from this video conference. So I have decided now to take it forward also, not just with this talking alone.
Thank you, sir.
I am a banker for almost 40 years now. When I heard this terminology for the first time, I thought how financing can be irresponsible. It has to be only whatever I have done in my career, like taking deposits, lending, investing, saving, budgeting, all were with the utmost responsibility and sincerity. The only criteria at that time was get the money back with reasonable return. And if the customer wants from the deposit money he wants, money should reach him at the right time. This is only the responsibility. And my responsibility ends there. Nothing beyond that. And that way I was a responsible bank officer. While I was in IBA, because presently I am not in IBA, my term ended on 28th of May. So while IBA, 2 years back, I attended a meeting on responsible financing. This meeting opened my eyes. I understood how much I was irresponsible all these years. Responsible finance has more dimensions other than lending and recovery. So, all of you are aware of this 2008 meltdown, the great financial crisis. So after that, there was more and more focus on responsible financing. This all happened. One of the reasons was lack of transparency. And in India also what happened, many of our banks got into very, very opaque derivative deals. Without understanding what is a product, they got into it, they got into problem. Even today, the cases are in the court. So, responsible finance is a clear, transparent, and ethical lending with governance and trust. When I talk about trust, I just want to tell about UTI and GTB. In both, there is a T. What happened to the T? The moment the T is gone, UTI is gone, GTB is gone. So that is the importance of trust. So under responsible finance, we have to provide access to the deprived who are not getting any finance and they have no knowledge about finance. And we have to reinvest the profit to deliver the economic, social, and environmental benefits. And lend the money only to the people who can repay, not just lending money and making them bankrupt. So this lending should give them hope and opportunity, not only returns for us. And it should create wealth, but not only creating wealth, it has to spread the wealth also. Mainly the wealth should be spread. Because creating wealth, all of you know, it creates wealth only for few people. That is not correct. That is not responsible banking. So responsible financing leads to responsible business also. So in every business, we think of the bottom line, nothing beyond that. But here in responsible financing, there is a triple bottom line. That is profit, social, and environmental dimensions. This concept is known as 3P. 3P is, P is, profit, people, and planet. And what is people? Employees, labor, and the society, and what we are giving back to the society or to the community. And planet. Planet is environmental, low carbon economy, renewable energy, waste management. Apple made a statement in 2016 that 96% of their energy was from renewables. So this is some 4 years back. So when we come to the 3P, when we come to the question of profit, all of us use our head only or our brain. But people and planet, we have to use our heart. Because these three are the pillars of sustainability. We have to go beyond the financial ratios to understand the people and planet. Because financial ratios or balance sheet will only talk about profit. How to make profit and what are the possibilities, what are the cash flows, fund flows, nothing beyond that. But beyond that, there is love is there, affection is there, and fellowship is there. This all a balance sheet will not show. So that is why we have to take care of the people and planet all the way. And responsible finance is actually an umbrella term. It is a term for a bouquet of strategies. Sustainable lending, sustainable investing, impact investing, all this come under responsible finance. Responsible finance leads to sustainable development also. Because we have been hearing about sustainability, like that, this terminology everywhere. I was also not understanding what is sustainable. But the sustainable development means it is actually balancing the ecological, social goals in such a way that the people in the planet meet their needs without compromising the needs of the future generation. That means all of us are saving money. For what? For our next generation we are keeping money. It is all only materialistic. But are we thinking of our planet? This planet is not ours. There are generations to come. The planet belongs to them also. So we have to take care of the planet also. Equally, importance is there for planet. So responsible finance that way, that's why profit, people, and planet. These are the very important things. And this responsible finance will make everybody responsible, not like I was responsible. I was thinking that I was very responsible in banking. So there is something beyond responsibility.
Yes, sir. I think you were responsible at that point of time. You are responsible even today. I mean, that was what was the environment that you were in, and you did exactly. I mean, what so many people did with responsibility. But I like the word you used, the pillars of sustainability, which is a three piece: the profit, people, and planet. And while we run for the profit, I think people and planet is something that we have perhaps not looked at in earlier times. And that's where the heart is, right? Where you have to look at while you create profit, otherwise no company is going to survive or no bank is going to survive. So profit, yes, but where are you using it? How are you using it? How are you creating that from a people and a planet point of view is what Mr. Rajkumar is saying. And he said it so well, so beautifully. So I hope ladies and gentlemen, you have got a gist of what is responsible banking. Like I said, this terminology is pretty new in India. It has been started in some parts of the world, but it is coming big time because, and I'm sure this pandemic that we are going through has made us sit up and take look at how we are behaving with nature, how are we behaving with planet, how are we behaving with people, and the problem that we have, which is right in front of us, which is besides the COVID, the climate change, will create massive problems if we don't act. And I think that's where responsible finance is leading to. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the open introduction, sir. There is this concept of an environment, social, and governance. Some of which you did cover. In part of it, which we generally call it as ESG. These are the criteria into individual financing decisions. These three kind of go into making your decisions on finance. What are the key ESG metrics that provides a push for responsible finance?
This responsible financing actually integrates whatever you told, ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance. These concerns are integrated into any lending or investment decisions. So coming to ESG, let me also take it forward.
Yes, please. Yeah, please go ahead.
Because ESG is very, very important. E is environmental, all of you know. And what E covers, low carbon economy, afforestation, water and soil pollution, resource efficiency, waste management, renewable energy, and the list goes on and on. I am only giving a gist of it. Like that, if you take SC social, social also touches upon labor standards, human rights, food security, health, safety, etc. And the G part is again governance. And governance is actually corporate ethics, integrity, the reputation, risk management, reporting, actually, whatever we are doing, or any financial, any concern or bank, whatever they are doing, the reporting has to be very straightforward and frank reporting, and management effectiveness also. So all these three are covered ESG. The whole world now is revolving around responsible finance and these three letters ESG only. You can go to any foreign bank site, you can just see everybody will be touching upon this ESG only. So ESG is ESG of a country or a financial institution or a business. It is like ECG. ECG, what ECG is, that is also again three letters. ECG will indicate the heart, actually, what is the health of the heart. Like that, ESG of a country or a financial institution or business, it will also indicate the sustainable development, the health of the country. And the successful blending of the financial and non-financial factors, they decide the sustainable business growth. Because we are always only thinking of financial factors only. Now I have been touching upon the non-financial factors also. Both have to be successfully blended. And all this ESG, all these three ESG should come in that package. then only our ECG also will be proper and it will be positive. And who are the stakeholders in ESG? Academics are there, banks are there, development financial institutions are there, investors, stock exchanges, government, regulatory bodies, industry associations. They are all the stakeholders here. So,
thank you, sir. Thank you. I think I like the parallel you draw between ESG and ECG. Both are to the heart, and that's important. So ESG is like an index of the country, how good the country is. It will be perhaps determined by the three factors of ESG. So great, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I continue my discussion with V. Rajkumar. It's getting very interesting. This is a new concept. Okay, so this is this is where not only the financial industries but even non-financial industries will start moving towards, and more so because of the pandemic we are in. So people will get more and more conscious of the way they are doing business and the way they are operating within their own company, and how they are dealing with the customers and vendors. So extremely important topic. So I would urge you to, if you have any questions and questions, please put it in the Q&A box, and we'll try to get it across to Mr. Rajkumar. Keep your questions brief and short, and remember, this is a new topic, as like Mr. Rajkumar said. So we may not get all the answers, but I'm sure Mr. Rajkumar, with his wide knowledge, will be able to get it across to you. You also have an opportunity to ask a question directly to him. So you could put up your hand, and the back office will facilitate for you to ask the question directly to him. So I'm going to move ahead, and I'm waiting for your questions to come through. So the entire responsible financial of finance or banking started with the UN sustainability group goals, right? They wanted to kind of create something which is environmentally good, right? So the sustainable goals is the heart of is the heart of responsible finance. Can you please explain what are these goals which are causing a shift away from its traditional finance? Or like what you said, years you have been doing something, correct? Now there is a shift that's happening. So what is the shift that is happening? What are the goals of the UN Sustainability Forum?
UN General Assembly, they launched the Sustainable Development Goals, that is known as SDG. Again, another 3 letters.
Okay.
So after triple P and ESG, now it comes SDG.
Yes,
so
and ECG.
Yes. SDG also, there are 17 goals are there. I am not going to touch upon all the 17 goals, and it has got 168 targets also.
Oh, okay.
But out of these 17 goals, which are very important only, I will just tell you. That is only no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, and greater equality, affordable clean energy, inclusive sustainable growth. And majority of these goals are taken care of by this responsible financing. And there are 3 principles of responsible financing is there. And if you are going through any material, they will be only talking about these 3 principles. That is, one is top management commitment should be there. 1. Number 2 is governance. 3rd one is capacity building. Top management commitment, anywhere it is a top-down growth. It should be there. And if the MD or the CMD or the CEO, he is committed, then only it will start flowing down also. It will percolate down. So top management commitment is a must, and it should be also not only it's a must, it should be also exhibited. And if you go to some foreign bank sites and all that, the CEO is giving an undertaking. He is telling, I am committed to ESG like that. So we have to show that we are working. So that way. And governance, again, all these things are to be taken care of. Governance I already touched upon. Reporting and how effective we are, all that are to be taken care of. And capacity building is, we have to train the staff also. And they should also develop their awareness regarding ESG, what is responsible financing, and their mindset also. We have to convert the mindset into an ESG mindset. And one more thing, apart from all these things, we are all talking about COVID-19, but because of COVID-19, there is one positive factor also happening. So this is what, no, because of COVID-19, the planet is visible to our eyes today.
Yes, yes.
Because all these days, now all last 3 months, we are all sitting at home. We are not going out, and we are seeing the planet outside planet. We are seeing now all the birds are coming, many animals are coming because we are all inside. So that way, slowly, the planet is getting visible to our eyes. So that is a one positive factor I am finding out of this COVID-19.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So I think you put it very well, sir. And so, yeah, there is a lot of learning because of COVID. There's no doubt about it. I like the way you put it across on the goal side, commitment, governance, and capacity building. Three key factors for any kind of responsible financing. That's what we are looking forward to discussion. So I'll continue with my discussions. Yeah, I have one query on this. When this UN created this, there are you talked about CEO's commitment. Okay, I did see the CEO of Santander Bank, talking about responsible banking, and he said how he and his entire team is committed to responsible banking and creating that social touch with the customers. I think that all participants, you all should go through the site of Santander Bank. They are talking about it. So how are banks across the globe embracing responsible finance? Like we did say that it is new to India. So I'm sure there is a lot more learnings that we can have, and maybe we can be better prepared. But what are your take on across the globe who are embracing financial finance, and can you give us some examples of banks that are spearheading this whole concept of responsible financing?
I can share some global experience.
Yes, thank you.
What other banks are doing it. This all I could collect only from their website because there is no time for me to interact with any foreign banker. But at least every website, if you go through the website, it talks about responsible financing. You name any bank, any foreign bank, you just go through the website. It will talk about sustainability or sustainable development, responsible financing, responsible banking, responsible lending. And all these are revolving around that UN SDG only, that sustainability development goals. Everything is revolving around these goals only. So I can give you some few examples. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Gather some information.
Yes.
Let me take first our nearest neighbor, something like Singapore. Singapore has got an association of banks, like Indian Bank Association, Association of Banks of Singapore. So they have got some guidelines on responsible financing. And the total focus is on ESG factors only. They are talking about only ESG factors, and they have fixed some minimum standards for their association members. And they are actually, the focus is on low carbon economy. They are also talking about the Paris Agreement or about the climate change in 2015. They talk about governance, transparency, trust. And they are also telling sector-wise, they are giving what are the risk exposures to be fixed.
Okay.
Then the three principles of responsible financing, I already touched upon.
Yes.
In fact, their doctrine also talks about these three principles only. And when you go to the Singapore Exchange, the Singapore Exchange, Stock Exchange also, they want all the listed companies to report on sustainability on a comply or explain basis. Comply, that is one thing is comply. Or if you are not doing it, you explain why you are not done it. This is comply or explain basis. This way, Singapore Stock Exchange has made it mandatory for all listed companies. Then when we come to Development Bank of Singapore.
Yeah.
This is also another Singapore-based bank. We have got branches in India also. This is the first Southeast Asian bank to adapt this responsible finance framework. They adopted it And they have also sustainable finance products. They have renewable energy, they have some products. And they have financed solar, wind power projects in China, Australia, Taiwan, and also waste to energy products. And they are also giving green loans. There are loans they call sustainability linked loans. Sustainability linked loans means there are loans which has got some criteria. Sustainability, the goals are there, already fixed. Some criteria are there. So as per the criteria, you are reaching the target, the rate of interest will be reduced.
Yeah.
There will be some concession. If they are not reaching the target, the rate of interest also can go up. So that way, they are actually encouraging this type of sustainability linked loans. So these are the products I could find in Development Bank of Singapore. Then let us come to the Chinese biggest bank, OCBC. You open their website, immediately you will find one exclusion list. That means they will not finance these sectors. The number one is coal-based power units. Then they don't finance nuclear, biological, chemical-based industries. And industries who are using forced labor or child labor. And endangering wildlife. This type of industries also they will not encourage. So this is the declaration they have given in their first page itself. So now we will go to the Scotia Bank. So what they are telling, we lend in such a way that it will mitigate social and environmental risk. So this is their, again, this is their principle in lending. And they are also talking about climate change, the trust, economic inclusion. And they are members as well as dignitaries to various agreements, accords, and meetings on environmental, this one. And they got a Eco Auto loan program in Canada. Eco Auto means we all understand it is ecology, eco-friendly.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll give some interest concession or processing charges and all that. And they are also supporting renewable energy sector in a big way. And they are encouraging clean transportation in Colombia. So these are the initiatives taken by Scotia Bank. And there is another bank, Credit Agricole. This responsible financing is there in all their activities. It is a core, center of all their activities. The three key issues in climate change, biodiversity, human rights. These are the three issues they are actually banking upon. They are giving all importance for these three issues. Then let us come to another foreign bank, Societe Generale. Societe Generale also, sector-wise, they got policies. Which are each sector, like that OCBC, which sector is to be encouraged, which sector has to be redlined. Redline means they will not touch these sectors, or they will charge more interest. So sector-wise policies they have. And if in the first page itself, you will find the commitment by the CEO. The CEO is giving a commitment that our bank will abide by all this social development, sustainability development goal, and we will also follow responsible financing. And they are also striving for long-term positive only. They are not looking at any short-term benefits. So it is there in their manifesto. And what is the impact? Positive impact on environment. These are the things they want, Societe Generale. I am telling in a very brief way because you will find pages and pages talking about these points. Then there is ING. It's a parent bank of ING Vysya. So they got a ESG screening. The moment a proposal comes to them, they will do a ESG screening. They got 100 ESG criteria. So they will actually go value that whichever has got a best ESG profile, they will take it first. And that type of proposal will get all type of support, interest concession, processing charges, everything. So they are also displayed it in their website. And the Australian Banking Association is there. So they are also telling that they are supporting robust and consistent responsible lending standards. So they are telling the loans to be given to the requirement of the customer. It should meet the requirement of the customer and their objective. And we have to, before giving the loan, we have to assess the repayment capacity also. As I was telling initially, Just we want to give the loan and make him take the loan and make him bankrupt or fully, he'll sink into this debt trap. It should not happen. So the banks are also legally bound by this criteria. The banks have to necessarily follow whatever I told. So this is global experience I have gathered.
Right, sir. Thank you very much. And that was a broad overview and details about how responsible finance for responsible banking is happening. I must tell you, sir, that though this is the new topic, people are loving it. The participants who are in this call are giving me thumbs up as to say that, Mr. Rajkumar is really putting it across so well, so beautifully, that they are beginning to understand what is this all about. And because they all have come to perhaps most of them have come into this show without knowing what is responsible finance. And it's a new term for us anyway, as I said earlier. So thank you so much for putting our participants into an informative mode, such that they are really understanding that what is this new thing and how it is good for the people and the planet. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for the good words, and it's an inspiration. Thanks to all the participants.
Yes, sir. You got very good ratings for that. Sir, we talked about the global, and so let's look at India. Okay. So India too is witnessing a gradual shift. We also had earlier only the cities and perhaps towns used to have any kind of banking. Now banking has gone to rural. So from maybe urban banking, we moved to rural finance. From rural finance, we moved into inclusive finance. Are Indian banks also moving to responsible finance? Can you please tell the participants, audience, about India's journey so far in responsible finance, and which are the areas that the banks are focusing on?
Thank you. I will take you through the Indian journey also.
Yes.
In no way India is inferior to any foreign country.
Excellent.
That is my experience, and I worked in 2 public sector banks. Our public sector banks are doing a great job. Only thing we don't know how to show. We have to show that we are working. I think that branding is not there. So the Indian experience, how it started, and I will take you forward.
Yes.
And in the year 2007, there was an RBI circular. It was talking about sustainability development, need for non-financial reporting, and CSR. This is the first, to the best of my knowledge, in 2007, RBI issued a circular. So things started falling in place from that time onwards. And in 2010, Central Public Sector Enterprises, they were given the CSR guidelines for the first time. So our country came to know about CSR in the year 2010. And 2011, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, they are given national voluntary guidelines on these 9 ESG principles. So first time our country started talking about ESG in the year 2011. After that, environmental clearance became tighter. Otherwise, licenses were given just like that. That time onwards, on a very selective basis only, our country started giving licenses, clearances, everything. And 2012, SEBI came into the picture. What they told, top 100 listed companies, they have to file business responsibility report. So this business responsibility report talks about this ESG principle only. So the first regulatory push has come for non-financial reporting in the year 2012. Now I understand there are 500 companies. Initially it was only 100. I do not know the exact number. Presently around 500 companies are there reporting. Out of that, around 70 are financial institutions.
Okay.
And 1st April 2014, CSR has become mandatory legally. And India is the first country to do that in the whole world. I am very proud. And 2016, Indian Bank Association has come with a voluntary guidelines, actual voluntary guidelines on this responsible financing. They were talking about 8 principles and 5 pillars. Anyway, now I don't want to discuss this 8 principles, what is five pillars and all that. It is only a evolving stage. So 2016, IB has come with their findings and how to go forward. And let me also tell what our stock exchanges have done. S&P and BSE, they have come with 100 ESG index they introduced. And there is a BSE GreenX 25 green companies. There is an index. MSCI India ESG Leaders Index is there. And Nifty 100 ESG Index is also there. So all these indexes, the companies who are taking care of ESG, they are only listed, the index. So these are the new things I am also learning. I was not knowing. And there are a lot of pension funds are there. And there are other funds also abroad. They are also looking for ESG funds. They want to invest. They have to mandatorily. So there are some 3 companies to the what I understand: State Bank of India, Magram, Quantum, Axis. They have got funds, mutual funds. They are called as ESG funds. So money can come into these funds from abroad.
Okay.
Maybe what I understand, there are some more mutual funds. They have also applied for license to start ESG funds. So coming to what our Indian banks have done, the top foremost is Yes Bank. It may be a surprise for many of you. They are active in this field from 2004 onwards. And they are the first Indian signatory for UNEP F5. And this Indian bank, this is the only Indian bank to be listed in the DJ, that is Dow Jones Sustainability Index and Dow Jones Emerging Market Index. They were also listed in FTSE, that is FTSE for Good Emerging Index. Then MSCI ESG Index. And they have environment and social policy. I think this is the first bank to come with a policy like this. Next comes the Axis Bank. They are also listed in FTSE for Good Emerging Index. And they are also coming every year with a SEBI Business Responsibility Report as per the mandate. It is mandatory, and as per SEBI, they are coming out. But in addition to that, they are also coming every year with a sustainability report. Sustainability report we already discussed. So whatever are their goals, what they achieved, what they are going to do, all these are covered in the sustainability report. Then Standard Chartered Bank is there next. I am talking about Standard Chartered Bank of India only.
Yeah.
They are also talking about alignment of their goals to the UN SDG, that is Sustainability Development Goals. So their sustainability policy is totally veering around this SDG. They got one flagship community program that is known as WASH, WASHE. Here WA is water, S is sanitation, H is hygiene, and E is education. So all these community development programs are taken care of by the Standard Chartered Bank. And they got solar water ATMs also. There's some rural areas, they put water ATMs. They are all operated by solar energy. And there is another community program they have, Seeing is Believing. It is nothing but to tackle avoidable blindness. So they are trained some staff, they are going to the rural area and they are doing a lot of social work in this area. And next, another private bank is IndusInd Bank. They are also talking about sustainable economic growth. And coming to our public sector banks, if you see the history, what we have been doing, all the public sector banks have been talking about green banking or green initiatives. And if you find every email, you will find that we are going green. This is happening for maybe last 1 decade also. But let us see what are the green initiatives taken by these public sector banks. Going digital, ATMs, online banking, mobile banking, electronic statements, e-statements, and annual reports in electronic form. And some banks are doing, I am only giving you a completely combining all public sector banks. I am not naming this or that bank. Whatever finally I could sum up, I have prepared this. So Some of them are doing electrical audit in their offices. For conservation of energy, everybody has switched over to CFL lighting. They are going for a master switch so that the electrical energy is saved. They are recycling energy efficient resources. Dry waste, how dry waste can be converted into something positive. They are doing some notepads and all that, distributing over the branches. Rainwater harvesting is being done. Our Indian Bank is doing rainwater harvesting. And banks are going for green buildings. If you are rated as a green building, then you get some concessions. Our Indian Bank, Chennai, our headquarters, it is actually a green building. So banks are going for tree plantation drives. And they are also installing solar-powered ATMs. These are all green initiatives. But again, they will also come under ESG. He is taking care of the E part of it. And if you come to the financing part, banks are financing wind and solar energy units, energy projects, low carbon emission projects, and all these projects, they give concession in interest rates, processing charge, etc. And public sector banks, I have talked about the E part of it. Let us come to the S part, social. What we are doing. Here I am talking only about public sector banks. The lead bank scheme. As early as 1980, lead bank scheme started. Every district across the country, it became one lead bank they were given the job of taking care of each district. Then DRA loans. At the early, when I was working in my first or second branch itself, DRA loans were there. The loans were given to the poor people who are oppressed and all that, and underprivileged, giving at 4% interest. We were giving public sector banks. Then came financial inclusion. I did not elaborate, I am just touching upon. Then Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, PMJDY. And rupee cards have been introduced. Business correspondents are there across the country. Every village you will find a business correspondent. The doorstep banking is provided. Mudra loans are there. RRBs are there. Regional rural banks. They are all sponsored by public sector banks. So they are reaching all the villages. Then coming to, other social objective, financial literacy. Financial literacy counseling centers are there. All public sector banks have. Everywhere you will find in their lead districts. Then RCTs are there. That is regional self-employment training institutes. We are all training, people who are not employed. For giving them a self-employment, all our banks are giving a training in our institutes. And we have got self-help groups also. It is a great success in our country. And in addition to that, Swachh Bharat. Swachh Bharat also, we are all very active. We are also taking it forward. So all these things are there. All the social objectives are taken care of under this. And if you go through the websites of many banks, you will find a citizen charter, BCSPA code of conduct, fair practice code for lending. All these things you will find. So Indian banks are doing a great job. Everything is covered. Only we do not know how to advertise ourselves, especially public sector banks. Because I know when PMJDY was introduced, we used to have every week on a Wednesday, we used to have a video conference with the Ministry of Finance. Every week they will ask how many accounts are opened, which districts you are covered. So many questions will be asked. I will be like a boy, preparing for the exam. Tuesday night, I will not have, sleep also, because all this data, everything, they will go through all the intricate details. This is the way, financial inclusion has been taken care of in our country, and we have to be very proud. And 97% of the accounts are opened by public sector banks only.
Yes.
Only thing we don't know how to brand it.
Perhaps, yeah.
And I just tell you one more thing. There is an Oxfam report. They are also talking about what is happening in India. So let me also, whatever I had told you, it is also supporting and strengthening my hands. This report talks about Indian banks are doing very well with financial inclusion and lower corruption also. But they are weak on climate change, human rights, and environmental issues. This is correct only. We are taking care of green and all that, okay. Green banking, everything. going green and all that. But are we taking care of climate change, human rights? I think this we have to again think of. And what they are telling, whatever lending happening in India is regulatory and compliance driven rather than on moral grounds. This is also to be thought over. So I think I have covered now the journey of Indian banks.
Okay, right. So, sir, I mean, you have put it so well and so beautifully, and you have taken the entire landscape of how responsible financing is happening across the globe and how it's actually being. It's not new. There are lots of, we said 500 companies are there, I also came to know that BSE, Nifty, mutual funds, green index is like set up for these. So good to know that. And thank you very much for giving this fantastic insight into responsible finance. So, like I said, sir, we also have the opportunity of putting a question to you through the Q&A box, or ask a question directly. So we have Mr. Sudhakar Kaza. Mr. Kaza is a well-known personality in the finance world. He's been a banker and a central banker. He would want to ask you a question directly. So I request Mr. Kaza, please unmute and ask the question to Mr. Ram Kumar.
He is my well-wisher.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ram Kumar. It's a great pleasure to see you here.
No, you are my well-wisher. I am so happy to hear you.
See, when I was a regional director in Orissa, the Reserve Bank of India Orissa building is the first building in public sector to be given that full 5-star green certificate. I got a prize from the minister also in Delhi. The issue, thank you. The issue is this. See, the CSR, being a responsible banker and all is fine. Means you go for LED lights and you lend in good areas like solar lighting and things like that, and you give educational loans, which is their part of our goals also, improving the education and all that. But the question is, a banker means you accept deposits for the purpose of lending. So a responsible financing for a banker would also mean seeing the viability. And my experience in India has been, wherever these responsible areas which are also socially driven and government directed also, like education, experience is very bad. Means over a period of time, most huge NPAs have come from all these solar lighting projects and educational loans and things like that. How do we combine this responsibility into our financing area, loaning area?
So that's what I was telling, sir. We are actually, what we are doing is, our lending is only regulatory and compliance driven only. It is not based on moral grounds. We have to give, we are giving. We have to reach the targets. There is a 40% we have to do priority sector. So banks somehow they want to reach the target. That happens. That is because of that the casualties. Sometimes the loans go NPA. And I have got one radical suggestion also. I have been talking in various forums. Your social and your profit and social will not go hand in hand. That is my personal opinion. If you want to do commercial banking and to be very this one straightforward, commercial banking and social banking, I feel, is my personal opinion, will not go together. You have to have a commercial banking only on commercial grounds. And you want to take care of all this ESG and responsible financing, we have to have a separate bank for that. And government can do all type of social banking through that bank. Their profit will not be the goal.
Government funded, you say?
Yes, sir. No, or even all these commercial banks can give out of their profit some money. They can some percentage. So the social bank, you can call it as a social bank or whatever it is. This bank will do only social banking. It will take care, and all banks will support.
Thank you.
Banks, totally, they can take care of their commercial goals. It will be done on a professional way. So both will not go together.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I think that's a good. Thank you, Mr. Kaza, for asking a lovely question, and thank you, Rajkumar, for giving the explanation. So I think your thought of social bank. I think that's a great concept, so that you have a dedicated bank which will only look at social sector financing, which goes through the three pillars of responsible financing. So I hope people hear this, and it does come through at some point of time. So I have another question for you, sir. How do banks prevent investments in unsustainable businesses? Do they de-incentivize lending investments in non-sustainable businesses? It's a question that has come from YouTube.
Non-sustainable business is okay. You find it is non-sustainable, then if you want to really give the loan, you can charge interest more. You need not give any concessions.
Yeah.
But we have to take care the money comes back at least. That is my responsible banking.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the answer. So there's one gentleman who's asking a question, and I'm sure he is from EPS. He says, you talked about solar water ATM. Would you be possible for you to give a couple of lines of what does this mean?
What I understood, I can just tell you, because I have not seen. Okay.
Yes.
These ATMs, just like milk and all that, you have seen ATMs like that. Water can be taken. Good, portable water will come from the ATM. This is all given in Rajasthan and all that, where potable water is not available. So this bank has installed ATMs in such places where potable water is not available, so that they are all functioning with solar energy.
Okay. Thank you. I think whoever has asked the question has got the answer. So that's a good concept, and so let's move ahead, sir. So in order that responsible finance, which is definitely a good thing to happen, I hope more and more banks and more companies adopt this. What are the key strategies or measures to promote responsible finance in India?
Sir, as I was telling, responsible financing is already happening as far as Indian banks are concerned. It is happening in a piecemeal basis. Only thing, we have to bring everything under whatever we are doing, like foreign banks. We have to also brand it, and we have to talk about ESG and all that in our websites. If you go through the Indian banks websites, you will not find any sustainability development or sustainability development goals or green banking. It will not be there. So we are doing. Why not we talk about it, and why not we exhibit it also in our website?
Yes.
And all foreign countries or foreign organizations are rating India based on this. When we are doing it, why we are not getting the sufficient correct, we are not rated accordingly. That is my concern.
Very true. Yes.
One more concern I want to take it way forward. Also, I wanted to suggest it. If we are very particular, priority sector should have a green subsector also. We are having a priority sector now, 40% to be met and all that. There is a goal. Targets are given for banks. You can have a subsector for green subsector like that, so that all this ESG can be covered there, and some interest concession can be given further. So that will encourage further responsible financing. And the SEBI also should identify more green assets with international standards, so that there can be some green funds and all that will come, green green bonds.
Yeah.
Bonds and all that, foreign countries, you'll find a lot of green bonds issue is happening. Even India, also some banks have issued green bonds, but not many. So this can be encouraged if SEBI can identify more green assets. And one more thing where we are lacking is domestic insurance and pension funds. They should also enforce ESG. They start doing it, automatically, everything will falling in place, because they are also investing money in various, business concerns.
Yes. Right, sir. Thank you. So we talked about ESG as what we should do ESG with bank lending. We talked about how ESG should get preference in many of the things that bank lends, the services that they give. What about the internal operations of a bank? should they also be following the principles of ESG? Should they also be looking at, say, the employees within the organization, the processes within the organization? What about dealing with the clients and vendors? Should they also be following the ESG principles?
Yeah, definitely. That's what we have to create awareness. I have touched that point also previously.
Mhm.
This is coming under creating awareness and ESG, mindset. The staff, I was telling about ESG mindset. We have to create a ESG mindset with the staff. We have to create, first of all, it is internally we have to create the mindset. Then we have to take it forward to the your customers also. There are two types of customers, internal and external. Internal customers are our staff. External customers know the customers. Once internal customers, they know very well what is ESG, then the marketing can be done for outside customers also.
True. Thank you, sir. So talking of customers, there is also this set of customers, the millennial customer, which is the large population of India, the youth of population of India. Do you see that in the days to come, they will demand that they will do business only with those banks which are showing, ESG kind of or principles? They're following the ESG principles, and based on that, they would deal with those banks and get products and services based on those principles. Do you see such a shift will happen?
It is going to happen. Already it has happened abroad.
Okay.
Foreign countries, it is already happening. It is going to come to India also. And our millennials they are intelligent, they are smart, they are also very eco-friendly that way.
Yeah.
They understand, and you would have seen also some young girl of 10 years, 12 years, they are all eco-various now across the world.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. And good to know, sir. That's the power of millennials, and they are the forefront of our COVID variants also in India. So good luck to them. So we look at technology, and no discussion of ours is complete without talking of technology. Does technology aid in the ESG principles?
Yeah, it is already 100%. It is happening. I was talking about BCs, doorstep banking in villages. How it is happening? It is only because of technology. They got a hand. They can take a machine like that by the hand. With the thumb impression or with the Aadhaar number, they can take money, deposit money. So this is all through technology only. And there is a interoperability also is there. If they are having an account with another bank also, say for example, Indian Bank machine they are using, they can take money from IOB also. It is happening. It's all technology.
Okay. So those things are already happening according to you.
Yeah. Without
excellent,
technology, PMJDY also totally it is technology driven only. Otherwise, these many accounts cannot be opened. This is a global record. The number of accounts we have opened.
Yeah.
And these RuPay cards also.
Okay. So before we close the session, can you advise, one or two points to the participants and whichever organizations they are working? What are the one or two things that they should go back and do to create this principle of ESG?
No, that's what we have to think of the 3P. Everybody knows the P, profit.
Yes.
Everybody wants profit. No doubt about it. Let us think of people and planet.
Yes.
The moment you are concerned with the people, that human touch is there. That is very much required. Second one, you should know your planet also. These two P's are taken care of, everything will be all right. Start thinking about our planet from today. And the people who are working with you and the people who are your external customers also. Whichever company you are working, you have got an internal customer, external customers. Both are coming under people. Take care of them. Give them a human touch.
Right, sir. So well said, sir. I mean, thank you for giving that advice to the participants in this call or in this talk show. And I'm sure they will learn from this, go back to their offices and organizations and apply those 3B principles. So it was wonderful talking to you, sir. We have passed the hour and sorry for holding you back. But, we covered a whole lot of items. This is a new area and there's a lot more to be done. And So Mr. Rajkumar talked about, not just creating wealth. We said, wealth should also be spread. Responsible businesses should be there. Profit, social, and environment are very important. We touched upon the three principles: profit, people, planet. I think that's the guiding stone for responsible finance. Okay. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, when you go back to your organizations, see how in your day-to-day work, how can you apply the three P's? Mr. Rajkumar, I don't know how much to thank you. It was so wonderful talking to you.
Thank you. I got only one prayer now for everybody.
Yes.
This prayer is, now we are all talking about social distancing.
Yes.
This is a negative terminology. There should not be distance between people. People have to come together. So I want social distance to end at the earliest. Let me pray to the Almighty. Let us all come together at the earliest.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was a fantastic message you've given. Thank you once again for coming to our show. It was wonderful talking to you on a new subject, which is totally new. And, it was so informative. And we would like to call you once again whenever the time comes. And once again, thanks for your time for this new topic. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.